Ever wonder how to keep a 100-mile-an-hour pace and not lose your mind on the bench?
Well, today we're talking about in-game shifts and how to manage those. 2 programs, 2 levels, 1 system, and this month,
Everything starts.
Welcome to 3 over 2 Hoops. I'm Coach Jessica DeLiba.
I'm Coach Bob Belf, and we would like to introduce you to the system.
Welcome back to 3 over 2 Hoops. I'm Coach Jessica DeLiba.
And I'm Coach Bob Belf. Today, we want to talk about, after we talked in one of those episodes about making shifts, we now want to talk about putting shifts into game management.
And before he gets into that, make sure you like and subscribe so that, we can get that viewership up and get our podcast out there.
We've been getting questions and we've been getting more people watching, and that's excellent. I think we will talk probably in the next episode about where we are at this point of the season. But we want to talk about the shifting because we did a lot of work last time about how we put them together, who matches with who, where you're trying to find pieces. But now you got to put it to play and put it in game form. Well, one of the things that we did just to start, no matter how you do this, was we would lay out our shifts 2 or 3 days ahead of time before a game based on how much time you have. Now, I know with us, we play Wednesday, Saturday, so it's very difficult for me to do anything but Monday and Thursday. But you want to practice the shifts that you're going through and how you're going to do it so they're comfortable with what you're going to do.
Well, I would say before we even get into that, I think, especially even for me, I would like to know, because Coach A and Coach Dave, so Coach A's son, now at Grinnell University. Where did the shifting happen? Like, did he just magically come up with a number that, we're going to do 3 shifts or we're going to do 5 shifts? Like, what was the original from what you can remember?
Well, I think originally it was we're going to maximize participation. If Coach Dave and I worked together for 2 years. When Coach A did it, I think it started off as we're going to play 2 shifts. Then the number of bodies that he got more players to play, went to 3 shifts. And then I know Dave and we worked a lot with 5 shifts, and then we started working with moving players around within the shifts. But when you're going with 1 or 2, the 2 shift or even 3 shifts, in our case, 3 shifts meant 15 players, and you would play 1 in 3. And so each player then has to be accepting of the fact they're going to play 1/3 of the game. So I think the challenge there was to get better players on the floor more often. Now, I can't say Coach Dave started this. I know I worked with him a lot on it. But when we were doing 5 shifts, then we started working on who can play 2 and 5. And so who's playing 4 out of 10. We never went beyond 2 out of 5. And so at that point, we worked really hard at not double shifting as well. Because once you're getting into longer shifts, a longer rotation, we don't have to double shift. But it allowed us, when we got to 5, to put people together in different places. So I know when Dave was playing, because Coach A obviously was coaching, they went to a point where he was older, where Dave was playing point guard in his 2 shifts, but someone else got to play point guard in their shift because there's 5 shifts. So it opened up the position for more people to participate in a spot.
Now, would you say, do you need more players to do more shifts? Like, for example, Coach Dave keeps how many on the bench?
Oh, well, we dress 20.
Okay.
So, you're going to probably play 16, 17, 18 a night based on what you got, how the game goes. You make scenarios up where you've got some shifts in mind if it gets out of hand. But I think consistently 16, 17 kids were in the shifts. So, obviously, if you're going 5 shifts, there's only 25 spots, and you're trying to do it. Now, as I weigh it, with our kids, I have 11 players right now. So, if I went to a 5 shift, which I did the other night, if I went everybody 2 shifts, they get 20. There's 22 spots, so somebody's getting 3 and 5. So now I'm double shifting, and that in that game that we did it didn't work. So by halftime, I changed. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. I personally, thank you for asking. I
was added there.
I thought that I was actually going to do 5 shifts because that's what I got used to coaching with you last season. And as I went along, because we did that in the summer, I believe JC actually mentioned that in the last episode when we interviewed JC Roy and Harlem Simpson from my team, we started with 5, and then I don't know if it might be at the high school level that 5, they were having a hard time kind of communicating and talking about who's in what shift, who's rotating where, who's staying where. But we've been doing 3 shifts now consistently, and the girls seem to like it. And I will say I have grown to like it now only because I have certain players on at certain times, I guess. And I feel it, for me at least right now, it's easier to manage, especially early in the season, I guess. Maybe my thoughts will change halfway through, but...
Well, it kind of depends on certain things. Obviously, there's things that happen during the game that can change real fast. But I found that with that night I went to 5, I went right back to AB, 1-2 and 2-man shifts there, because it just seemed like I could get a consistent people on the floor, and then and we're going to talk about this too, I slashed somebody as to where they were going. So everybody's out there going, what is he talking about? I think the basis of this is you're starting with what we called AB. So you had your 2 shifts right away, and you could probably put together 2 darn good shifts based on what it is. Now, we're trying very hard, we talked about this in that last one, to allow certain players to carry shifts. So if I've got 2 players here that play well together, and I've got someone of us here that has their own, they can score equal a number of points. And so ideally, that's like if you went 50-50, you've got something. We started going to 3 shifts at times because we needed to break down the scoring, but it takes a kid from who might be in this shift and let's say in number 1, put him in 3, and they might have a different role in 3, and all of a sudden they can get each group to work a little better. So obviously your scoring then could be broken down into thirds. If you go into 5, the biggest problem with there was the cohesiveness in 5, because now nobody is playing together very often. It's all different different people. But groups can become dysfunctional. We had a system at Grinnell where we went down to play a team in Illinois, and our leading scorer had a group of his own, and in that group, he had a rough night. I think he scored 2 points, and he was 25 a night. And so now the rest of that group picked up the slack, and they found ways to score, and the group held their own. But that group now becomes dysfunctional as a group when you put them out on the floor the next time. Now they all want to score, and we're not helping each other get baskets.
Well, I think what was interesting is I had one of my friends reach out to me, and because we post our stats and team stats and everything after the games, and she asked me, she's like, one of your players is putting up starter points right now. Like, why is she not starting? And it's like, I asked her, I said, do you remember that we run this system? And she's like, yeah, but she's putting up numbers that she should be starting. And I'm thinking, okay, no, you don't get what we're talking about here. Because it's like, I can't have 2 scorers in the same group. Like, you can if in this game situation type of thing, but I need to be able to sustain a whole basketball game. I can't, like you're saying, they have to be balanced. And I think people are just so quick to put their best 5 together.
We had a game 2 weeks ago where one group scored all the points. The other group really struggled to score. And so you spent your time trying to figure out how to balance that a little bit, or is there someone in the one group that I could put there and help them score just so that we're getting consistency all the way through. It also happens when all of a sudden a kid evolves. Like, let's say it's a freshman or a sophomore, that as they get a grip on what they're doing and they start to, sometimes they need their space, and now they can hold court and have their own group and sustain it, and all of a sudden it makes you a stronger team. Where they're not a bad player, and they're certainly helping others, they need that opportunity.
Right.
So I think sometimes you defer too much when you have a really good shooter, a really good player, and sometimes that person that's deferring could use the space to play somewhere else. So we were very comfortable with 3 shifts. We went to 5 a lot with Dave, and we have media timeouts. So I think this is one of the things that right now you do have to face here is the stoppages in game. That will dictate a lot of how you do your shifts. And I think that is one of the reasons you don't like the 5 is because you're not getting enough participation with the number of whistles that you see. So at end of quarter, We talked about this, and we're going to talk about this again here. But at the end of the quarter, you start to manage the last 2 minutes or so of the quarter. And so let's say a group goes on the floor with a minute 15. That's not really, that you really don't want a group to stay that long on the floor. But at the same time, can they finish the quarter? Well, you could sub again.
Well, I would say, though, do you find it different? Because obviously we have viewers both from the high school level and the college level. So do you think there's differences there within high school and college?
Well, I think right now, theoretically, I would say if it's like a minute 20, I would be shifting again before the quarter. But in that minute, all of a sudden you could get 3 fouls and be on the free throw line. And they got instant rest. And then you could let a group finish just because they're right there. We try really hard when we sub to move a group in on offense. It's not always easy. You send them to the table sometimes and you're waiting for it, and it tends to be a defensive situation. But we'd love to, on a fly, get them on offense. But there are times your best player's on the floor, and you say to yourself, well, I'm going to let her get one more offensive possession. And that might kill your quarter. So we try to shift at the quarter. But if a group has stayed on the floor for 15, 20 seconds, just because as it worked, we'll let them finish and go to the next quarter.
What about double shifting players?
I think, well, it certainly is easier to do. I think most coaches look at it the other way. They were like, if I don't play a kid in the last minute, and I got the timeout, I got my kid 2 minutes of rest. And that certainly can be a factor if you're playing a kid too much. But sometimes you could put together a really nice group and let them go through the end of the quarter and do some damage.
Well, I will say, I think it's funny because I have a lot of high school schools that want to play me in zone. But it's like, sure, that might be your tactic to play us, but it's actually letting my best players stay in longer because, okay, we just get to set it up and pass it around and then shoot a 3.
Sure.
It's like I feel like it also a little bit is on how the other team is playing you.
Absolutely. Inherently, you play slower against zone. It's you try not to, but it happens that way. You make more passes.
I think at the high school level, it's a lot easier to double shift because we have a player, Larissa, at OCC, and she goes hard. And it's like when she is begging to come off the floor, like, why have we not subbed? And it's like, but I think when you're older, you learn how to exert yourself more. Like, especially I have freshmen coming in, they don't know what running hard is. Like, in college, you tell them to run hard, like they will run as hard as they can because they just understand. They've been through it enough. And there is some that they have to learn at the college level too. But
without a doubt, it is a skill. Learning how to play hard, learning how to be as intense as you can be. Our freshmen at OCC right now feel like they're playing hard because they played harder this year for me than they ever did in high school. So yeah, I'm playing hard, but then they watch our sophomores and they're playing hard. Mm-hmm. And so now all of a sudden there's still a gap.
Even Harlem last episode said, well, I can tell when I'm not playing hard because I come out the game like, and I'm thirsty and I'm like breathing hard. And
so why are you taking us out, Coach? We're not tired. Yeah. That's on you.
Yeah.
That's not
you had the shift to
exactly
take care of what you're supposed to do.
All right, let me ask you this question because this is near and dear to my heart. What happens when a shift goes too long?
Then the assistant coach has a very hard time because the head coach is asking you, why is she staying in? Well, that is the shift that you came up with, Coach. Yeah. Then you might have to just single sub somebody in and kind of make it work. You can't, yes, everything is decided before the game, your lineups, all of that, but you have to be flexible within it because a shift is going to go too long. Someone's going to get in foul trouble. Like, you have to think these things through in advance, like situational stuff. And I don't think it's even possible for you to go through every situation that could happen.
I was on the reason when I went from the 5 back to the 2 because we got 2 kids in foul trouble. And all of a sudden, I didn't have the luxury of playing them out in 5 shifts.
So then let's talk about switching to 2 shifts because I know that's something you like to do, Coach Belf, is end of game scenario. It's a close game. Are we still playing 5 shifts?
We are not.
Are we playing 16, 17
we are not.
Players?
Coach Dave liked to come up with play our best 10. I think in a 20-minute half, best 10 is a little easier to kind of drift into. We used to go there about the 6-minute mark, maybe 8, depending on how the game was going. But then we would get to our best 10. And that can change every night, too. You had 10 people, but somebody's really playing well.
So you would have your best 10 and you split them 5 and 5.
Right. Then as you get closer to the end of the game, especially when you hit the 3-minute mark, then we would have groups, specific groups. We had finishing groups.
Okay.
So we have a finishing group if we're winning. Let's say you're up 5 or 6. So we have a finishing group when we're losing. And it could be the same people. For I think at the high school level, you're still going to put your best 5. But you and I have dealt with it at OCC where we're just going to single sub. Well, our idea of single subbing still can be 2 or 3 at a time, but we're leaving our core on the floor to finish, and we're putting people out for specific reasons.
And I would also say one good thing that I've realized is, now doing it myself, is I might have somebody at on ball, and then if I want to play them back to back, I'll put them at DB, because I don't want to say it's a break because they still got to go for steals, So, but it's a way within the groups that you can kind of save or let them catch their breath for a second. So I found that to be useful.
1 year at Grinnell, our best on ball was also our best defensive back. And so he played on ball basically the first 37 minutes in his shifts. And then when we got to important points of the game, he went to the on ball. To the defensive back, because the others were freshmen, and so he was just a little more poised and a little more handled, but he was good at it, and he could go back and forth. He was a senior, so he understood how to play both, but he was good at both spots, and so you could move the kid around. Sometimes that's a big part of it too. Putting freshmen in spots that is over their head is difficult.
Yeah, I found it's easier to, for now, have them focus on one spot and just be the best at that spot.
Especially the younger they are.
Yeah. I mean, I have, using JC, my senior, she is able to, I can move her everywhere, except probably point guard, but she can, her IQ is good that like, oh yeah, I can do it, no problem, So it's nice to have players like that.
In an attempt to get more people on the floor, Dave liked to slash players, and what I meant by that was, let's say you're an on ball, and I'm an on ball, and I also can play defensive back, and then we got our defensive back. He might slash us where you would play with the defensive back, and then when I come in, I play with the defense back, and then when I come in again, I'm playing with you. Now I'm at the trailer, and then you're all of a sudden defense, on the ball. So in other words, you were playing people every 2 out of every 3 shifts, or maybe every other shift. If you have 11 players and you slash the left wing, those 2 are going every other shift when that shift goes. So they're playing 1 and 4.
Yeah.
I think one is we started looking at our players. What you were trying to determine right away was who needs to play 2 and 5, who's going to play 1 and 5, who really needs to go 4 and 10. 5 and 10, do I need to get somebody an extra shift out of this? And so you're trying to lay out where they are and still get them rest. At the high school level, it's 2 out of 3. But you've been subbing your best player, a Division I best player on the floor, as much as anyone. I mean, she's getting 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
You haven't left her in. You've been going through that, and she is the beneficiary. She's putting up a lot of points because she's rested.
Yes.
So as you were asking about starter minutes, we felt there was a saturation point. And so what we found was, in a 40-minute game, if you played over 26 or 27 minutes, you flatlined. All of a sudden, you were not an effective shooter. You were not you were shooting, but you weren't making anything. And so all of a sudden, that was kind of where it was. We had to keep our rest point to there. A kid could play 27 minutes very easily if you're trying to take care of the basketball the last 2 or 3 minutes and their minutes go up all of a sudden. But we felt in a 20-minute half, we were going to get 22 to 24 rotations. That was our shift point. So if that kid stays on a little longer, gets his 27 minutes. Getting off the floor, we found ways to do it that seemed a little unconventional, but what I'm finding with our kids, we tend to shoot the 3 because we're tired. It's like a lazy way to do it at the end of a
Yes.
shift.
Yes.
And what you need to do to get off the floor is you need to attack the rim and get fouled. That would be the most ideal way, is get to the free throw line and we can shift. We have fouled in our shifts, which Dave likes to do a lot. I have...
Can I say a story?
Go ahead, please.
Okay, so there was, I don't think it was a regulation game. I think it was a scrimmage. I don't remember. It was last season. This one shift was, I mean, the girls couldn't even get up the court, and we had the ball on offense. Like, they literally could not even run. They were begging him for a timeout. He's not going to use his timeout to sub a shift. He goes, pass me the ball. And without even hesitating, she passed him the ball. The ref looked like nobody even blew their whistle, and the ref just goes, blows the whistle and points the other way. But there was no other way to get off the floor. Like,
But that's hard, because sometimes you'll get a steal or a rebound and you want them to go, and you see that we had an advantage and you don't want to stop them, but they've been on the floor for a minute and a half.
I have to find the clip of that.
That was pretty funny. She didn't hesitate. She just threw it
did
to me.
not.
So we have fouled in the past, and we also have thrown the ball out of bounds in the past just to stop the clock. You better be pretty secure that all of a sudden we're up 20 when you do that one. But you got to find a way to get them off the floor. If too long is a killer, and it's a psychological thing, it's subconscious. But if you go out and you play to the point that hard for a minute and a half to 2 minutes, you are spent. You're beyond spent. And your body looks at it like you're hurt, but you've gone past the anaerobic stage into the aerobic, and now all of a sudden your body can't recover. And so when I'm putting kids back in the game and the next shift goes normal, they're not ready. They haven't recovered, and they're not ready to go. And so, yeah, you can make a shift change there. I have taken timeouts because of this, but at the same time, you want to keep them mentally thinking, that hurt. I don't want to go back to that again. I don't want them ever to reach that point where they don't want to play hard.
And let me also add, like, make sure you have someone to shift for you, because you cannot coach and pay attention to everything and be subbing people in. Because me, when I'm an assistant for him, I am missing so many things, because he is a coach that likes that you stand up and go sub people in, because then it's clear, because they're screaming and cheering. They're not even paying attention to that they're going in next. They're too excited about the play. And it's like, you need to get up and tell them. And so it's like, my back is turned to the game half the time. And now when I'm coaching here at Groves, it's like, oh wow, I can watch. Like, this is kind of fun.
Well, there is a Coach A thing. We both started taking chairs and sat down at the other end, because you get a much better view of the game down there. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of factors that go into it. I know that, like, when we had media timeouts at Grinnell, we would go into a game thinking we had A, B, 1, 2, 3. And then the shift that hurt was 3, because if we had a media timeout too fast, we'd go right back to A, because we knew our best player was an A. So that was how we laid that out. But I've gone A, B, 1, 2, 3, and then just lopped off A, B and just said, we're going 1, 2, 3 for a while. Sometimes it's just a feel of how the flow of the game goes, or how it was not working the other day with 5 at all. I got a couple in foul trouble. I had no cohesiveness. We went right back to A, B, and I slashed a kid, and it worked. And we were much better for it.
And we got the win.
But we were exhausted. We were exhausted, because
sure.
there's the more shifts you have, the more opportunity you have to rest and keep those kids fresh. 50-50 is hard. It's very hard. And it's, even at the high school level, it's hard. And you'd love to get a kid to rest somewhere in there. But, you dealt, it's the hand you're dealt, and it's a shorter game, so you can get away with that.
For sure.
I do want to just mention fouls before we finish this. We try to ignore fouls, in the sense that if you're going to play, let's say you're 50-50, so you're going to play half the game and you foul out.
That's on you.
That's kind of...
I went down to the end of my bench last game, and I had one girl with 3, and it was the beginning of the second quarter, and my assistant coach is like, do you want me to sub her? I said, no, if she wants to foul out in the first half, that I got 10 girls on the bench. We're fine. Like, it's on them. We explain to them, wash windows. Like, what are you reaching for?
Right.
It's
the temptation is there.
Yeah.
I will protect a kid when they reach a fourth. if it's an important person when they get their fourth foul, especially if they decide to do it in the second quarter. And I'd have park kids for 3, but it might be because of their getting noticed. Sometimes you just want to, if you take a kid gets a second foul and you just have them skip a shift, the referee forgets about them.
Right.
Then when they come back, they're fine. And I just may take them out a shift and let them go. But because it's just a natural reaction, human being to be, all upset. The referee, they're human beings. They see that. Mm-hmm. You park that kid, they think, he's out for the quarter. Well, no, she's right back in the game. They don't even know. So, but I've had plenty of kids get 4 and never foul out, mm-hmm. But the aggressiveness can't be lost. You can't all of a sudden, because you got 3 fouls, be at the back and just let people score because I got 3 fouls. Right. No, we're here to play. And so we'll protect you somehow. But that to me is one of the only area you really have to kind of work on this. Once you get comfortable with some shifts, the biggest thing is to make sure they don't become dysfunctional. And all of a sudden there's too many scorers in each group and too many trying to beg for the ball. Mm-hmm. If there are people there that are helping your best scorers score, those shifts will be very good, very functional. You're still going to score points. So anyway, I hope that helps, because right now I think a lot of people question where I got these shifts. Now what do I do with them? Like, how do I make that work for us? So
yeah, and I will add, you'll get a feel for how to sub, the timing of it all. Like in the beginning, he had to help me. Now I got the kids at the table. Why haven't you subbed? I'm like, they're sitting at the table. Do you not see them? And right, okay.
Because we didn't get a whistle. Down. That's why.
But if there's any other questions that you guys have, I think we answered a lot of the little ones that we got on the side. Do not be afraid to give us questions down below. We can go in more depth if that's what the people want. Anything else, Coach Bell?
No, that should do this one.
All right. Well, we appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us for more.